Hello, welcome to Movie Musters. The Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 4 trailer, starring Patina Miller and Mackay Curtis, is released by STARZ. SNL alum Chris Redd, Sibonjile Mlambo, Paul Ben Victor, and Partisan Fontaine are among the new cast members in the most recent episodes, which make the family business more complex and deadly. In a picture from Season 4 of the STARZ series Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Patina Miller and Mackay Curtis are shown. In a picture from Season 4 of the STARZ series Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Patina Miller and Mackay Curtis are shown. With thanks to STARZ. Less than a month before Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 4 launch on March 7, STARZ released a trailer for the next episodes on Tuesday. Under the shadow of his strong-willed mother, Rak, played by Patina Miller, the lead character, Kanan Stark, played by Mackay Curtis, is asked questions about his identity and considers exactly who he wants to be. After that dramatic Season 3 finale, which ended in a carnage and forced mother and son to confront the possibility that they are far more akin than they initially believed, who can blame him? In the new video, Kanan states, "I want them to see me as me, not who my mother is." Rak wonders if she can trust her son in both business and blood as the teaser depicts a more self-assured Kanan making his mark in the industry. Amidst scenes with bursts of violence, they continue to work with Italian mafia leader Stefano Marchetti, Tony Danza, and street legend Snaps, Wendell Pierce, and Pop, Erica Woods, as they extend their control over the drug. Additionally, the resurrected Unique, portrayed by Joey Badass, makes a terrifying appearance in the video. It appears that Unique is seeking retribution after seemingly rising from the grave. Additionally, new cast members Paul Ben Victor as Phil Russo, Sibonjile Mlambo as Imani Okoye, Chris Redd, a former cast member of Saturday Night Live, as Early Tyler, and Partisan Fontaine as Birilla make their debuts in Season 4. The second installment in the enlarged Power franchise is Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. Sasha Penn remains executive producer and showrunner. The Power Universe series is executive produced by the creator and showrunner of the original Power, Courtney A. Kemp through her production business End of Episode, Curtis, 50 Cent, Jackson through G-Unit Film and Television, and Mark Canton through Canton Entertainment. Executive producers include also Kevin Fox and Chris Selak. The STARZ series is produced by Lionsgate Television. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 3 Episode 10 Review, Made You Look. Never say never. As Power fans, we ought to know better than to make assumptions at this point since things are rarely exactly as they seem. Additionally, Episode 10 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 3 was the type of hour that brought back memories of why the Power universe is among the greatest television shows. Kitchen Standoff, Episode 10 of Season 3 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, stars Rak battling Ronnie, Lulu facing his inner demons, and Howard either getting away with it all or ultimately receiving his comeuppance have all been hinted at throughout this season. Additionally, the conclusion provided us with a wealth of answers. Rak on a Mission, Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 3 Episode 10, STARZ. We soon discovered that Rak and Marvin did not murder their younger brother or abandon him to fend for himself after the cliffhanger in Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 3 Episode 9. Not surprisingly, instead, they had him enrolled in a fancy recovery facility. Lulu is still family, regardless of how irritated they ended up being with him. Even though it took them a while to recognize the type of assistance their brother need, they still wanted to aid him to demonstrate that Lulu had progressed past the detoxification stage on screen and was fully committed to his treatment. A 2-week time leap was necessary. If there were more time this season, exploring the initial days of substance misuse therapy would have been a fantastic chance. However, taking us to the latter parts of the start of his trip allowed us to see Lulu free from the physical affects of the alcohol and concentrating on resolving the complex web of challenging emotions he has been battling. Rak, Lou, not everything is meant to be released into the world. Some crap must remain around. Lulu, Rak, I'm talking about emotions. My emotions. Things that are mine. Things that are important to me. Link Permalink, Rak, I'm talking about emotions. My emotions. Things that are mine. Things that are important to me. As stated in our privacy notice, we utilize your personal information for interest-based advertising. I didn't think the hour would start with a family session with Rak, but since that tense connection is the source of so much of Lulu's suffering, it made natural that he would want to talk to her first. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Upset Lulu, Season 3, Episode 8, STARZ. In contrast to Rak's connection with Marvin, the interaction between Rak and Lulu has always felt more mother/son than sibling. Rak would frequently take advantage of the power dynamic to get Lulu to do what she asked of him, and when Lulu eventually retaliated against it, he began to sink in his grief over what he had done. As you become older, you come to see that a lot of the things that make you angry are actually misdirected hurt. Rak frequently suppresses her rage, allowing it to boil under the surface. To be honest, she can't afford to act like that, thus she doesn't usually enter a situation yelling or hurling objects. However, Rak frequently uses harsh language, and she has frequently made fun of Lulu. She is unable to Episode 10 of Season 3 of Jukebox and Marvin's Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. She flips everything back on herself and what she's permitted to feel and not feel throughout their session, laughing at Lulu's suddenly developing sentiments. Their incapacity to listen to one another has long been one of the main problems between the two. Neither has been ready to think outside themselves, even though both have made good arguments and been mistaken. There were a few dramatic moments between the two, but the one outdoors where Rak expressed regret and Lulu accepted responsibility for his conduct was arguably the most significant. It didn't feel forced or false, and it felt like what they were each hoping for from the other. Decades of trauma cannot be changed by a single professional family session, but it was unquestionably the beginning they both required. Lulu will need to forgive himself in order to recover completely, and to be honest, that might never occur. Catching Up, Episode 8 of Season 3 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, STARZ. His attempt at suicide seems to stem from his conviction that he cannot be more than who he is now and that he cannot live with himself for the things he has done. He's at that institution precisely where he should be, yet his incapacity to follow through on it reveals his conflicted emotions. Hopefully, he tells his doctor exactly what he did, and he will be, I believe. Lulu wants to punish himself, but in order to reach a point where he can just accept himself, he needs to change the way he thinks. And that's all he ought to be aiming for right now. Simply to be alright. Since things in the South Side are always changing and you can never be sure that it's for the best, I'm concerned about what Lulu's life will be like when he eventually returns. Episode 10 of Season 3 of Concerned Jukebox, Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, STARZ. There would never be quiet or apathy in response to Rak's choice to blow up Ronnie and Kanan's company. Although the canon of it all would have prevented her from determining that anything would be violent, she had to know Ronnie would. However, his choice to pursue her in broad daylight shouldn't have been as stunning as it sounded because she has been preaching about Ronnie being an unpredictable variable throughout the season. I don't understand why Rak doesn't have a bodyguard on staff, but she eventually does, at least at home. She thought she was ready to present herself to the large table to speak after Rak made this bold move and things began to become hazardous. Snaps and Pop essentially told her they weren't interested, and I don't blame them for that. She cannot be in charge of everything, and she does not have the authority to dictate everything. She was fully aware that her actions may and would have repercussions, yet she still wanted to declare a ceasefire when her life was suddenly in danger. Episode 8 of Season 3 of Standing on Business, Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, STARZ. That isn't how life operates. Now, this episode appeared to be very simple, but given the conclusion, a lot of doubts over what was and wasn't accurate began to arise during the hour. Kanan appeared truly shocked and Famous informed him about the shooting. Was Kanan acting, even though we've never really known him to be a great actor? In my opinion, he wasn't, and his rage at Ronnie for snatching him at the restaurant felt genuine. However, somewhere between that incident and his captivity, he and Ronnie devised a scheme to persuade Rak to give them a sizable sum of money. I am at a loss as to what to believe. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Ronnie and Kanan Face Off, Season 3 Episode 10, STARZ. Could it be that Kanan and Ronnie staged the kidnapping and kept Snaps and Pop in the dark? Or were they also complicit? Although they were clearly aiming for the big surprise at the end, I wish there had been more information about the workings of this entire scheme, which, if the audience understood too much, would not function. It's a brilliant strategy to bring Rak and Ronnie together and then do the grunt labor himself, assuming this was all. Ronnie was never untouchable, but it was starting to seem like only someone close to him could take him out, so I've been yelling to everybody who would listen that he had to leave. And Kanan would have to be that person since he had no one close to him. Maintaining focus, Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, STARZ, Season 3 Episode 8. For a while now, they had been subtly increasing the tension between them, particularly when it became clearer that they both believed they were in control and neither was prepared to compromise. Greed and animosity for Rak led to their collaboration. It became very obvious that there was no trust there. Since Ronnie had turned into a menace that Kanan could no longer manage, it was better for Kanana to kill him. Was Ronnie's passing unexpected, then? Yes and no, I would say. It was definitely something to consider as Kanan pulled the trigger and planned his own kidnapping. Kanan is known for being ruthless and crafty, and this circumstance was undoubtedly one of those traits. Calm Ronnie, Episode 10 of Season 3 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, STARZ. The other fatality that occurred in the warehouse this hour was undoubtedly more surprising. Even though he occasionally acted carelessly, Howard has done a respectable job of safeguarding himself while living on borrowed time since we first met him. I believe Howard's longevity can be attributed to his self-centeredness. Being a lone wolf meant that he didn't give a damn about other people. However, he was so transformed by knowing about Kanan that he at least began to think outside of himself. However, Howard also believed erroneously that he, Rak, and Kanan were all defending one another, even though this was never the case. Episode 9 of Season 3 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, On His Last Straw, STARZ. I knew Howard was somehow leaving when he told Rak that the three of them were a unit. I wasn't sure if he would die in prison or from a gunshot wound, but Rak wouldn't tolerate his talking endlessly about cheating on Marvin. Howard has always been a complicated person, and it's possible that his fate was predetermined when he killed Shannon. He had a place as long as Rak valued him, but he had no choice but to collapse as the walls closed. When you look back on his whole character path, it's interesting that we never saw much of him and Kanan together and seeing what that interaction was like. However, that contributes to the Kanan Stark mythology. He discovered his twisted past, never saw his father in person, nearly murdered him without realizing he was his father, and then witnessed his mother shoot him dead in cold blood. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Episode 10, STARZ, Marvin Waits Outside. I believe he never digested any of it throughout his lifetime because it's a lot to comprehend. Howard's career was likely gone regardless of whether Rak murdered him, as Tanner and Baptiste were pursuing him relentlessly. Rak was the only guy who may have something to say, so it was sort of entertaining to see them question everyone about Howard. Rak and Kanan are practically given a second chance because Ronnie and Howard have both passed away, thus taking all the guilt with them. Will they resolve their differences and take over the company together? That would entail accepting his mother's falsehoods and being content to take a back seat. However, I don't believe that's very realistic. There are a lot of situations when Kanan is forced to rely on Rak after his associations with Snaps and Pop backfire. Season 3 of Unimpressed Rak's Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, STARZ. There are so many options for the plot moving forward, and that's to say nothing of the fact that Unique is alive. I hope you rejoice loudly if you were a Unique truther. Unique appeared to be dead. However, given our understanding of how these series work, we ought to be more knowledgeable by now. Adult Kanan was set on fire, yet he survived to live another day. Has Unique been observing Ronnie while pouting about the city? And awaiting the ideal moment to creep out of the shadows? I'm thrilled that Unique is still alive, especially if it means we might see him and Rak again and possibly rekindle their feud amid the congested streets of the South Side. Snaps Make Moves, Episode 10 of Season 3 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. Season 4 is eagerly anticipated. Everything you should know. Marvin lost a buddy in Gerald, so you had to feel sorry for him. The fact that he continued to pay his respects, even from a distance, after the betrayal is telling. Hopefully, Season 3 will include more in-depth discussions about Marvin and Lulu. There's a lot to explore there with the two brothers taking separate routes, and I truly liked their sequences this season. Everyone might be impacted next season if a famous person gets jammed up. Not a snitch, but famous while incarcerated? I am unable to view it. It is safe to presume that Sean will be the child born to Crystal's pregnancy. Lunch Date, Episode 10 of Season 3 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, STARZ. Kanan makes a commitment to stay in New York forever, whereas Jukebox wants to leave the city. Jukebox's story is made even more tragic by the knowledge that she would eventually return and pass away in the location she so desperately wished to flee. Jukebox and Aisha had a great time together. If Jukebox is indeed going out of town, it's unfortunate that they never had the opportunity to investigate their relationship. How Stefano fits into things in the future will be intriguing to see. She might be able to take advantage of his fondness for Rack. Overall, there were many positive aspects of this season, even if things were a bit slower. Gathering data for Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, STARZ/Karahau, Season 3 Episode 7. Leaving things on such a high cliffhanger will keep me excited till the next season. How did everyone feel about the conclusion? What do you most eagerly anticipate? To talk about it all, leave me a comment below. And I appreciate you following along this season. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe for more videos. Thanks.